Yes.
But I can't hear myself, so. All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of the Washington County Quorum Court Finance and Budget Committee to order. Can everybody hear me? All right. I can't hear. If I moved down there, I could hear.
It's going through. No one's talking yet.
Well, they're waiting for me to start the meeting.
Yeah.
I can't hear what I...
Everyone can hear you, though.
Well, I can't hear.
We can hear you, Ann.
We can hear you, Ann.
All right. I'm going to go on and do the prayer and pledge allegiance to the flag tonight. Let's pray. For peace, Almighty God, kindle, we beseech thee, in every heart the true love of peace, and guide with thy wisdom those who take counsel for the nations of the earth, that in tranquility thy dominion may increase till the earth is filled with the knowledge of thy love, through Jesus Christ our Lord, who liveth and reigneth with thee in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Patty, will you do the roll call, please?
Pledge allegiance, the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, it's first. Okay. Do we have a flag?
Yes.
Do we have a flag?
Working on that.
Here we go. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Lance Johnson. Susan Cunningham.
Here.
Derek Thomas.
Present.
Judith Yanez.
Here.
Patrick Deakins.
Here.
Lisa Ecke.
Here.
Duncan.
Here.
Chandra Washington.
Here.
Eva Madison.
Here.
Andrea Jenkins.
Here.
Suki Hires.
Here.
Sue Madison. Willie Lemming. Ann Harbison.
Here.
And Butch Pond.
Here.
We have a quorum, JP Harbison.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to adopt the agenda? I can't hear him.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Do
Second.
I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 The agenda has been adopted. All right, we're ready for our reports. Bobby Hill. Bobby Hill's also gonna go over the request that JP Deakins requested also. Bobby, can you hear me? Be on there?
There's a delay.
Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear us, Bobby?
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody is well. Go right into 4.1, Treasurer Summary. Let's see, notice on some of the expenditures were over revenues for July. A lot of that has to do with, we had 3 payrolls in July instead of the normal 2. You'll look at the 2000 road fund, revenues were way up over expenditures. That's because we finally got the $850,000 FEMA money we've been waiting on for the last year or 2, but it is secured in the road fund now. Look at the bottom of the next page. Began the month with 33.2 million in the bank, ended the month 34.4 million. 4.2. This is comparing 2020 to 2019 through July 31st. The big 3, general, road, and jail, all 3, more revenue this year than same period last year. And on the expenditure side, general and road both spent less than they did the prior year. Jail spent a little more, but again, if you look up above, they made up for it in their increased revenues. 4.3 is the property taxes that we've gotten in for the general fund so far. May and June, we were down. July, we started to come back up, and I've seen August numbers already, and they're up also. So by the time all is said and done, I expect 2020 property tax to catch and surpass 2019. And if you look ahead to 2021, Assessor Hill sent me the preliminary assessments, and it looks like we're going to see a 6.7% increase. 4.4, 1 cent sales tax. 705,000 came in. It's 4.2% better than 2019. Kind of surprising to do that well considering the circumstances, but these may be a little artificially high due to this extra $600 that the feds were adding to the unemployment and the stimulus package that people received. These are for the May collections. We're just going to have to see how it goes the next few months and see how this trends. 4.5, the quarter-cent jail tax, same situation. 958,000 came in, and that's 350,000 more than this period last year, total for the year. 4.6, it's just the total 1.25% taxes we get, sales tax. This includes the cities, jail, general, and road. It just something to look at. It's kind of neat to look at all the different, there's like 200 different categories, but I narrowed it down to what we might be most interested in. E-shopping, of course, is way over last year, mainly because all we had was Amazon's volunteer taxes last year. So a 243% increase is major. The first 3 you would expect to go up. Down at the bottom, see the bars were down 75%, but the liquor stores were up 60%. So let's see, 4.7. This is the road half-cent state sales tax that doesn't have grocery sales, and even it was up 2.19%. So 148,000 came in. It's not reflected on this report, but I've seen August numbers and they're up 9%. So very good news on all the revenues as far as through July. Let's see. That's it for that part of it. JP Deakins did ask me to put together some early numbers, 4.8. So I did so, but as I usually say this time of year, these will change. Some will change dramatically by the time we get into October and November. There is one typo on page 28. The jail projection sheet. Let's see, the 2020 column should say 2019. Let's see. Right there on the 2017, 2018, it says 2020, it should be 2019. But this is mainly just to look at right now and kind of see where things are and where things have been. But I'll open it up to any questions that anybody might have.
Are there any questions for Bobby? If not, then we'll move on.
Sorry, I
Thank you,
have some
Bob.
questions. I have some questions.
Who's speaking?
JP Deakins.
Okay.
Bobby, a couple things for you. You know, I've been watching the news, and the big thing right now is, what if we don't have college football? What if the SEC doesn't have college football? I imagine that would be quite historic. Do you have any idea what that would do to sales tax projections? I would think that'd be pretty problematic. Do you have any idea about that? I'm not asking for numbers. I'm just saying it would be considerable, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, you have probably at least six games in Fayetteville with, I don't know, 50 to 75,000, depending on how good we are. But yeah, you take that out of the conversation, it's gonna hurt. It might hurt quite a bit. But so that's something we will. I know 2 conferences have already canceled their fall years, so what the SEC will do, I'm not sure. But yes, if we don't have Razorback football, you know, hotels will be empty and restaurants will be empty, and so you can't help but, I mean, can't help but hurt quite a bit.
Yeah. So I just want to say, and don't let me mischaracterize anything, but I did ask you to put together this revenue projection because I feel it's important for us to have as we move into budget, kind of a starting point of where we're at with revenues for next year. And I will add that, you know, you were very careful about that and said that this could very well change. I guess what I would say, though, is the summary of your revenue projection across all things is that it will be pretty similar and hold steady to 2020 if we get everything, if we're hitting everything like we see now.
Yes, you've got the main change, of course, is the census coming up. And I just took a flat $1 million off the top of the sales tax. Not sure what it actually will be, but for now, that's a good start. Of course, 60% of 600,000 of that would be for general, and 400,000 would be deducted from roads. That's what I did on the sheet. That's already been deducted. I didn't add on to the property tax because I hadn't had Russell's preliminary assessments at this time, but that number will go up some. So it'll kind of balance out what's on the preliminary.
Okay. Thank you, Treasurer Hill. I yield, Madam Chairman.
Okay, we also need to take in consideration not only the college football games, but all the craft fairs that occur that we take a lot of revenue in on. The Bikes, Blues, and Barbecue has already been canceled. That brings in a lot. So we've got a lot of revenue that may not happen this fall that we've had in the past. So the picture looks really rosy now, but it could change drastically in the next month or next 2 months. So I think, you know, we need to look at all these monies very cautiously and not get over optimistic. We need to be very conservative in our budget process, and we'll be getting into that in September. All right, are there any other comments? If not, thank you, Bobby. We appreciate you. Yes.
There is a delay on here, so make sure you give people a few extra seconds to respond.
Oh, okay. I was just reminded that there's a delay in my comments when you hear me. It's about 3 seconds later. So are there any other people who would like to make a comment? Okay, thank you, Bobby. We appreciate all the work you do. Yes?
You said you're welcome.
Oh, okay. Nelson Driver, are you with us tonight?
He is. Give me just a moment.
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. I'll try to keep this short. Before I get into the health fund balance, I just wanted to remind everyone that this is the year that we go out with the RFPs and bids for the health, the dental, and the group life program for the employees of Washington County. Anticipating that the RFP will be made available to vendors September 1. The RFPs will be required to be submitted by September 30, and a report to Judge Wood will be rendered the first week of October. This will give us some needed information on the cost factors going into 2021 for budgetary purposes for the county. So I just wanted to make sure that y'all were aware that is happening over the next 30 to 45 days. Beginning in the health fund, we made a little bit of a gain this last month. We began the month of July with a little over $2.9 million in the health fund. We ended up this month of July, just a little over $3 million with a net gain of about $92,000. And anytime we have a net gain in the health fund, I'm pretty happy about that. I don't think that is something that we can sit on, as I brought up in the last meeting, the standpoint that we've had some really large health claims this year. We tend to have quite a few health claims filed during the last 2 or 3 months of the calendar year, with employees and dependents trying to get things done and get things in while they've already met their calendar year deductible. So those are things that we have to factor in as well. Mr. Watson and I are working on some issues right now about funding for the health fund, looking at premium contributions and those types of things to help make sure that we are able to solidify and stabilize the health fund. So those are some issues that we're working on presently, and as we get those developed, we'll be back to report that to the Finance and Budget Committee as well. And that's my report.
Are there any questions for Mr. Driver? If not, that was a really good report. I've been around long enough to know that things can go south pretty quick with the health insurance. Thank you, Nelson. We appreciate you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the controller's report. I'm not sure Shannon's out. Jennifer, are you giving the report tonight?
Madam Chair, she's not. It'll just have to be accepted as written.
Okay. Everybody look over the report. If you have some questions, I'm sure Jennifer can answer those. Shannon will be out, had I think, a knee replacement. All right. We'll move on to new business. Is Roger Morris available, our coroner? Roger is asking for a new position because of the increase in his workload at the present time, I hope that we can get some, maybe FEMA money later for this. Are you there, Roger?
And you have some major feedback.
He had what major feedback?
You have,
All right.
maybe that's Roger.
Hello?
There he is. We're good.
I had major feedback.
Yeah, it was momentary. It's gone now.
Okay, Roger, you want to speak to why you need another person now?
Yes, ma'am. As you can see on the letter I wrote, our increase in load has just been tremendous over the years. We've gone from, I just went 3 years back for you, 1333, 1233, and right now, when I did that was 1435. We're already at over 1,500 calls for the year, plus dealing with COVID. Benton County has got 1,059 calls, so that gives you kind of a look at what we're doing compared to them, and they've got 4 full-timers, plus their office managers / deputy coroner plus office manager. But with other things involved here, it's causing us we need to split our shifts. My full-time deputy coroner now I put on quarantine as of yesterday. So now it's down to me and 2 part-timers that work on weekends mainly. I did have 1 part-timer turn in 90 hours. This is something that's been needing to be done. We've pushed it out as long as we've pushed it out as long as we could. Every position I've ever made, as you know, we've brought out of our budget except for the benefit packages. I can't do that anymore. We just have to have the help, and I'm deeply sorry I have to ask, but we've been fighting it for a long time, and with what's going on, we have to have it. And I do anything in the world to wish I didn't have to ask, but it's got to be done.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this position for our coroner, Roger Morris?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion second. Are there any other questions? Are there any questions for Roger?
Yeah, I have some. This is JP Deakins.
Okay. JP Deakins.
Coroner Morris, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
This amount that's being allocated right here, the 48,499, is that the full salary for the whole year, or is that just for the remainder of the year?
That'd be a full year salary.
Okay.
We've got him coming in at 37.5, which is basically the going rate right now is 45,000. Daniel brought 2 in at 45,000 a piece. So what we're doing, I'm bringing him in at 35 to keep him underneath my lead deputy coroner at 37.5, and then he's already got his Arkansas ARMDI. And when training, it gives him room to grow.
I got you. My next question is, I'm trying to get, the bottom line out the door price, if you will, which I know it can be hard, so just bear with me. You have the equipment and stuff for this position right now. Is that correct? Or will you have to be coming back at a later time to get vehicles or certain equipment or anything like that?
We're going to leave the vehicle alone. What we did was, you allocated us $27,000 for a truck this year. Well, luckily I think ahead. And when I saw it hit New York or the East Coast, I told them, I said, we're not going to get a vehicle. And we were able to use that money to purchase a cooler and have it added on to our building without having to touch general funds. So, and I told the guys, we're not going for another vehicle. I've got the vehicle, I can put this gentleman in.
Okay, do we have any other questions? We're gonna call for the vote.
JP Madison, Madam Chair, JP Eva Madison has her hand raised.
Well, I can't see. I asked for, okay, JP Madison, which one? Eva or,
Eva.
Sue?
I think I raised my hand through the app and I don't think you can see
Can't
it, but
see you. Now I can see you.
it's okay. I don't have a question for the coroner. I just wanted to speak in favor of this. And that's because not only is the coroner and his staff dealing with an incredibly difficult time right now, but I have been of the opinion for quite some time that our coroner needed to move to a full-time position. I think he's been a little reluctant to come to the court and ask for this funding. I have been a little worried in prior years about whether he had enough money to be able to pay overtime and things like that. So I know this is bad timing in terms of asking for another position, but I think that this is something we probably would have needed to look at fairly soon, even if it were not for the pandemic. But he's been doing a great job, and his staff has been doing a great job. And I think we just have to face the music and give him this funding. So I support this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Lisa Ecke?
This is not regarding the position, but because we have Mr. Morris with us. As far as the pauper's burial, are we seeing an increase in people just not taking responsibility and we having to bury the body or whatever?
Right now, it's about the same as last year. I do have 3 in there right now that it looks like we're going to have to take care of. And unfortunately, 2 of them, we did find family, but they neglected. They just didn't want to, and it really worries me with a lot of layoffs right now that we may see more of it. But luckily, so far we've been pretty well on the same road we were last year.
Let me ask you rather quickly, if I may, a follow-up. Are there procedures that you have to follow as far as state guidelines? Do you have to bury the corpse, or can you cremate the corpse?
We cremate now by state guidelines. What we do is we have to get a lot of period of time, which excuse the pun, but kills us on this. What happens is we're supposed to try to find family first, which really, you need to give it a good week, 2 weeks, because sometimes they're hard to find. But then at the end of that time, we have to try to donate the individual to medical science. All right. But at the end of that period, the medical science community tells us we've held the body too long. So the only way for us to do that is do like a 3 or 4 day look for family, and then donate the body to medical science, so we don't have to pay for it. But you'd be surprised how many times I've held bodies for 3 weeks and found family.
Do you know, just off the top of your head, how much each pauper costs?
Yes, ma'am. Each one costs us right now around $210. What I've done is I put a bid out, and we do have 2 local firms that have crematories, and we rotate between the 2.
Okay.
It's a special for the county. Both of them has worked with us very well. But now they've kept it at that price now for me for about 4 or 5 years. So I do see that it's got to go up sooner or later, at least a little bit. But we've got enough room to work there.
Okay. That's good. That's all I have, Madam Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I can see everybody now, so if you raise your hand, I can recognize you. Okay. Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, and Butch Pond.
Yes.
It passes.
All right, this will be sent to the Quorum Court next week. All right, we're now ready for item 8. This is a request from the Sheriff's Department to transfer funds from the equipment to a line item for money he needs for communications. Is the sheriff or someone, or Jay, gonna speak to this? If not, do I hear a motion? Okay, first, I guess, is there any discussion? Lance?
And
Mr. J.P. Johnson? No?
Madam Chair,
Who's speaking?
JP Jenkins. Are we sure there's no one from the Sheriff's Department to speak with us on this? I really feel like we need to hear from them.
There is someone that's in the meeting.
Okay.
Ask them if I can see.
I'm sure Jay or Sheriff Helder are available. It's just that we're not making connection with them.
Ann, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? This is Tim
Yes.
Helder. Yeah, good to see you guys. This is to do with our dispatch center. The recording equipment that we've had for our dispatch center and CAD has become obsolete and is no longer supported. So this isn't necessarily something we want to do. It's something we have to do so that we can continue with our 911 center and dispatch.
Okay, so you already have the money in a fund and it just needs to be transferred to this line item, correct?
Yes, ma'am. The communication fund, that's what it's used for, is the radio dispatch center and training and whatnot. But at any rate, we do have the money. It just needs to be approved to purchase the new equipment.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Are there any other comments or questions? Seeing none, Patty, will you call the roll, please?
JP Harbison, do you need public comment or anything?
Yes, there's a hand raised by Beth Koger.
All right, public comment. Ms. Koger, you may speak.
Excuse. Actually, my comment was for the last ordinance. I don't have anything for this one. I raised my hand for the one about the coroner's position, but that's already passed. So that's why my hand was up. Maybe I didn't take it down, but thank you. I actually have.
All right, thank you. Are there any other public comments? If not, Patty, will you call the roll, please?
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Sandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, Butch Pond.
I think you said yes.
But
He's still muted.
He's muted.
He's muted.
do you vote yes? Yeah.
Motion's passed, and we'll pass this on to the full quorum court at our next meeting. All right, we're moving on to number 8. An ordinance recognizing and appropriating revenue in the amount of $852,365.70 in the road department budget for 2020. There's some FEMA money that's come in, and it was really needed. Are there any, do I hear a motion to pass this?
I can make a motion to pass on.
Second.
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 Is there any other comments?
I've got a question, Madam Chair.
Andrea?
Yes, JP Deakins. So this was applied for in 2017, is that correct?
Yes.
So is that typical response for FEMA to take that long to send monies needed?
Yes.
Wow.
That's why we need reserves in the road department.
Justice
Lisa?
Harbison. Thank you, Madam Chair. To follow up on Justice Jenkins' question, what happens with FEMA is as each disaster happens, natural disaster happens, the ones that they owe money to get pushed further and further back. And I believe that one in 2017, we had a hurricane and then another hurricane and then another flood. And with each disaster, we kept on getting pushed back. And it was just wait and see until finally they got caught up. But there's nothing you can do when you have all of those disasters. And I shared this information because that is how Chief Gales explained it to me when I was up in arms about FEMA. So I hope that explains why. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we have any other comments? I guess we need public comment.
I don't see any, JP Harbison.
All right, if not, please call the roll.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan, Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Lemming, and Butch Pond.
Yes.
This passes.
All right, we'll pass this on to the quorum court. All right, we're moving right along. We've got grant fund ordinance recognizing revenue in the amount of 69. Oh, we just did that one. I need to move down to the next one. An ordinance and
JP Harbison, this is
no, that was correct. Recognizing the amount of $69,350 in the Rural Community Grant Fund for 2020 and appropriating said amount to the road department budget for 2020. All right, this is that rural dirt road improvement money that actually Harvey Bowman found, and we've applied for it, and I think received it every year since then. Do I hear, okay, are there any comments? Do I hear a motion to pass?
Motion to pass.
Second?
Second.
Any other comments? Public comments?
I don't see any, JP Harbison.
All right, please call the roll.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan, Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, Butch Pond.
Yes.
This passes.
All right, let's send this ordinance on to the Quorum Court. We're on number 11, an ordinance anticipating additional revenue in the amount of $13,699 in the Law Enforcement Grant Fund and appropriating $13,699 from the Law Enforcement Grant Fund to the JAG grant budget for 2020.
Madam Chair, I'd
Are
like
there
to make a motion to pass, to approve.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the court? Seeing none, is there any public comment?
I don't see any.
All right, so therefore, please call the roll. Ms. Patty.
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Shonda Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins,
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, and Butch Pond.
Yes.
Lady Harbison, this passes.
Okay, well, we'll send this on to the Quorum Court. All right, 12, an ordinance appropriation of $6,557.87 in the Quorum Court budget for 2020. All right, we're asking for money for this so that we can meet in person for those people that want to. If you have a desire and that you do not want to meet in person, if we meet in person and we have plexiglass divisions between the people and we do our, mask and other safety issues, I think that we can meet in person. But if we have people that really don't want to do that, then they could meet with Zoom. And to be able to do this, we have to have another couple of pieces of equipment. And we have several people from the IT department around. Do you want to explain? Does anyone know that's, when I talked to Tony this afternoon, he said he needed a digital signal processor. And then the labor to build the plexiglass divisions between each person seat on the Quorum Court. I think we've got the budget process coming up, and I think it's very important that we do a good job. And some people feel real uncomfortable on Zoom. You don't get recognized all the time when you have your hand up and that kind of thing. So and I've talked with Judge Wood about this, and this is the solution they've come up with. So, do we have any comments? Do I have a motion?
AP Deacon.
Okay, just a minute. Patrick Deakins.
Chairman Harbison, I'm thinking back, did we not approve $10,000 of travel in our budget that was
Yes, we
somewhat
did.
controversial last year, and I'm wondering if we could not use those funds instead of having to take out of the general fund. Would that be possible, or can someone speak to maybe why that wouldn't be possible with this particular funds?
I would think that that would be possible since travel is out of the issue because of COVID-19. So I think that is an excellent idea that money be used for that.
Can I make a motion to amend the ordinance to take it out of the travel budget of the Quorum Court budget?
Yes.
So you wouldn't need an ordinance, JP Deakins. We would need to check, and I don't think any of us have checked your budget to make sure. I don't believe anyone has spending for that. So it should all be there, but if you give me a sec, I can check that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, JP Deakins.
Well, we can go on and appropriate the money, and then we can decide which pot it's going to come out of. But I think taking the travel money, as far as I know, none of that's been used. Okay, JP Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Could you explain to me again what exactly this money is going to be used for? It's not just plexiglass, but it's...
No, it's be used
because
for
there's less expensive materials that we can use.
Digital processor that would enable someone to be at the meeting with Zoom or by Zoom.
Okay, so right now, our meetings by Zoom are costing the Quorum Court how much each meeting?
I have no idea.
JP Harbison.
That's what I would like to compare.
Well, I just, we just had
information.
glitches and glitches at each meeting, so I would hope that everyone would, unless you have some kind of medical issue and do not want to be out in public, and we're giving you that option to do it by Zoom. Okay, JP Jenkins.
I have two questions. Thank you, Madam Chair. Number one is, how will public comment work in that case?
Okay,
and then I'll ask the second question after that.
There will be, let me answer that one. There are going to be 30 seats in the audience area that public can sit in. Also, we have talked about maybe putting a barrier of plexiglass between the court there where that banister is, maybe, and the public also. But the public there will be 30 seats for the public. And they will be at 6 feet. They've gone in there and measured, and it'd be 6 feet. They would have to wear a mask. They would have, use sanitizers when they came in and out, that kind of thing. Social distancing, yes.
Would they also be able to join a Zoom if the public did not want to join in person?
I assume they could.
Yes, that's correct. That's the purpose of this equipment. What that quote is that you got was from IT, and as we got to looking, initially it was for plexiglass. We found out that we had plexiglass that the Election Commission already had that will work. There are 8 dividers that are already made up, which hopefully will work. If not, we can look at having some more made. The quote that you got, there was a letter or a sheet that you got attached to that ordinance that kind of laid out the exact equipment. It's all IT equipment that would be needed in order to do the Zoom with a in-person / virtual Zoom. I think the city of Farmington does that now. Some of their people are in person, some of their elected officials are via Zoom, and the public has the option to choose as well. And so that's what that amount would be for. And JP Harbison, I looked at your budget, and you do have plenty of money in your budget, so you could disregard this ordinance and we could still go ahead and move forward with this if the Quorum Court so chooses with the money that you already have.
Yeah, okay. But what we need to do is probably just go on and vote on the ordinance.
We don't need
with
this ordinance.
JP Deakins amendment. Okay, JP Washington.
But we don't need this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do we know how many members of the Quorum Court are actually interested in the in-person meeting? I know I haven't been
Okay.
asked or anything.
That's
So
what this meeting is about, JP Washington. So I mean, if we pass it, then, you know, I think it's, I just think that we have some important business to do.
I understand that, but I just think it's a little bit presumptive to pass a motion when we don't know if anyone is actually interested in the in-person meeting.
I asked a couple of weeks ago for a survey to go out, and this was the ordinance that came up, and the survey never went out. So I guess we could just have a raise of hands now of those people that prefer to meet in person. Okay. Do we need to do a roll?
Before you answer that, I have one other question. So as far as the plexiglass is concerned, are we still sitting in the same orientation, or will we also be able to be 6 feet apart?
No, we'll be in the same orientation that we are now. That's why we're using the plexiglass, because if you were 6 feet apart, we would not need the plexiglass. All right, JP Johnson.
She just called on you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. From what I'm hearing about the plexiglass and that issue, the money quoted in this ordinance is not the total cost to do this. Is that correct?
As far as we know, it is the total cost because it has a digital signal processor in that. And if, you know, that is the big cost to do this, not the plexiglass, because it's been donated by the Election Commission. Maybe, you know, a minimum cost to do this. I do have another question on going back to JP Washington's question though. And she's right. How many people feel comfortable in meeting in the Quorum Court room and with masks, doing the things that you need to do when you go out? All those in favor, raise your hand, please.
Favor of what? Going to the courthouse and doing plexiglass.
Well, I see 4, and I'm in favor of it as 5. So we have 5 people who meet in person, and then we'll have 11 on Zoom.
Can I make a statement?
Yeah.
Okay, JP Jenkins.
And JP Hires has had her hand raised for quite a while, so
I can't see it. She'll have to raise it. There, I can see it now. All right, JP Hires.
I'm just more making a statement to explain to you why I would not come to an in-person meeting. I'm about to start school in a building with over 2,000 students and over 170 contacts a day. The likelihood that I am going to catch this is pretty high at this point, and I'm not going to bring that to you guys whenever we're going to be sitting that close to each other. So I'm just letting you know that's the reason that I will not be attending in person.
Well, we have options here. Okay. JP Johnson.
Yes. My question still hasn't been answered. And my question is it a safe assumption that the amount of money quoted in this ordinance is not the total cost to do this? And I think we're getting way, way ahead of ourselves.
As far as I know, it is the total cost.
Well, I don't see any money for the plexiglass or the labor to install it or any of those things.
I'm assuming the Buildings and Grounds will install it at no cost to the Quorum Court. I'm assuming that we're using plexiglass that's already available. I mean, I don't, this is, $6,000 is not very much money, $6,557. But anyway, JP Jenkins, okay. As far as I know, JP Johnson, the cost is probably a little bit more than what it actually is.
Well,
all right, JP Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, so $6,000 might not sound like a lot of money, but $6,000 is $6,000. With 5 people on our court willing to meet in person, I don't feel like that it's time to be making this sort of decision. We need to wait a little while, see how things go with the pandemic, with COVID. $6,000 is $6,000 that can sit and wait, in my opinion.
Okay, JP Pond.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I don't think we should wait on this. We need that option available. We need it. We need to be ready to do this. We need the equipment so we can have the choice to either meet in person or not. I don't, you asked if I was concerned about meeting in person. I'm not concerned about meeting in person as long as we take the necessary precautions. And that would be the plexiglass, the masks, everything else that we've been instructed the last few months that we need to do to take these precautions. There are just certain things that some of us feel the importance of meeting in person. I have no problem with the ones who want to go ahead and meet by Zoom along with us. We've been practicing that in our little country church for several weeks now without any problem. I feel like if we're going to serve the people of Washington County, no, not just feel like I have determined if we're going to serve the people of Washington County the best we can, as many of us as feel like we could be there and take the necessary precautions, the better off, the better we'll be serving the people of Washington County. Thank you.
All right, JP Washington. You're next, Eva.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, what is the timeline that it would take to actually get this done? That's the first question. And my second question is, what happens if we have to shut the courthouse down again? And so I realized that after having watched the governor's update today that cases are declining, but we also have to keep in consideration that we're now bringing 25 to 30,000 students from all over the country back into Fayetteville. So it's realistic that we could expect another spike. So what happens if we spend this money to get this done, and then in 2 weeks, the courthouse is closed down again? That's my concern with why we have to move so swiftly. So what is the timeline that it would take to get this done?
The timeline was to have it ready for our first September budget meeting. Now, whether they want to try to have it ready by next week for the Quorum Court meeting, I don't know. But the timeline I know is that I've requested Judge Wood that we have this option, and so I'm assuming it would be ready for the first meeting in September. All right, JP Eva Madison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The fact that we have $10,000 sitting in a travel budget that's unused, we should be counting ourselves lucky that we have that money that we can spare. I think that JP Deakins raised the point of what's going to happen this fall with sales tax revenue. If football is canceled, even if it's not canceled, it's going to take a hit. We should be doing, especially with the unemployment benefits potentially going away right now, we shouldn't be spending money just because we have it. I also think that, you know, I had to make a decision today by 5 o'clock as to whether my child was going to go back to school or not. And so I'm going to be in a position in my household of trying to minimize contact because my child gets services through an IEP. He's got to go to school 2 days. So he's going to go 2 days. But if I mix with people at the Quorum Court and then mix with him and he goes to school, every exposure that I have risks someone else in that scenario. And I can't do that. And I know my parents are worried, which I think my parents' internet is down, which is why my mom is not here tonight. But I just think we're really jumping the gun on this. Until our numbers start getting better, until we see what the beginning of school looks like, I think we need to save our money. I mean, think about JPG kids and JP hires that are having to go to school in 2 weeks. If anybody deserves this $6,000, it's them to protect the children in their classrooms, not us, because we're not great at Zoom. So I think we just need to push pause on this and be glad that we have extra money.
This is why we're doing the Zoom for those people that feel very uncomfortable about coming in person.
But every person that comes in risks the deputies at the front. I mean, it's not just about us. Every additional person that passes through the front doors risks the deputies and the employees that work there. We put our IT employees at risk. The world is operating by Zoom and we're just going to have to get used to it.
Well, okay. Are there any other comments? Now I'm going to call the question. Well, JP Washington?
We don't have there's no motion on the floor.
Oh, okay. JP Ecke.
I'd like to table this for further discussion to next month's meeting.
Second.
All right, motions to table. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed?
No.
Ayes have it. It's tabled till the next meeting. All right. Now, we've got 13. Ordinance amending ordinance 2019-86 by reducing the total amount of $144,057 in jail, $144,057 in jail operation and maintenance budget 301-70418 for 2020 and returning those funds to unappropriated reserves in the general fund. All right.
I move to pass 13.1.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All right. Do we have Sheriff Helder available to speak on this?
I'm here.
Okay. Got a motion on moving those positions in the jail. Would you like to make some comments about that, please?
Yeah, I guess my only concern, obviously, you're the legislative body, you can do what you want. It just was going to be more of a convenience thing for us to keep the positions and maintain our hiring freeze that we've had in place, because it's still our belief that the numbers are going to go up when the courts open up. And but I mean, I think if we have somewhat of a gentleman's agreement, whenever the time comes, if I can come back to the court and be listened to get those positions back, I'm not gonna dig in my heels and fight you on this, but I just think it's going to be a little bit cumbersome for us, because for the last 4 months we've kept the positions open with our numbers down, and I would commit to doing that moving forward, but whatever y'all decide, I'll work with you.
All right, thank you. I'm not sure, since there hasn't been any money out of general fund transferred to the jail this year. There's no general fund money in the jail budget that has been used. So I don't see that we can transfer something that's not there. I think this is an item that should wait into the budget when we are discussing the sheriff's
Madam
budget.
Chair, can I please speak to this real quick?
I'm the chair, and I have a right to make a few comments. You make your comments as soon as I finish. JP Deacon has her hand up. I think it needs to be in the regular budget process. That's all I have to say. JP Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to ask JP Deakins to speak on this, please, sir, since your name is on.
Thank you. Wanting to. All right.
Thank you, JP Jenkins. I do have a housekeeping item before we fully open debate on this. I need to make an amendment to this ordinance after consulting with Brian Lester, our County Attorney Lester, and Treasurer Hill. On the second page, this ordinance returns the money to the general fund. I need to strike that and amend that to the unreserved jail fund.
Unreserved jail fund?
Unappropriated.
Unappropriated, I'm sorry. Unappropriated jail fund.
You need a second?
So there.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to strike unappropriate, to return to the jail unappropriated funds, not general fund. All right. Okay. Lisa Ecke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that amendment to the ordinance, I'd like to ask Sheriff Helder how he feels about that amendment. Because I'm looking at it both ways. I understand what Justice Deakins is thinking, and it is a prudent recommendation, but I also know that it's easier to leave things the way they are and have it available. And so I don't want this to appear that we are defunding or taking positions away from the sheriff, which that is not what we're doing, and that is not what I want to do. So if I could have Sheriff Helder speak on the amendment, I would appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You want me to speak in?
Sheriff Helder.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And really my only angst with this is expediency when the floodgates open, to be able to get the positions back. But obviously I don't need them now. So it's hard for me to argue vehemently against this ordinance. So like I said, if I have the ability to come back and just say, I need those positions back, and you all will at least openly discuss that, I'm fine with this.
Wait a minute, a follow-up to that.
Nelson has his hand up.
But may I have a follow-up to that? Because I needed to wait for his answer, if I may, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Being prepared is a critical factor, I believe, in law enforcement. And we're always supposed to be ahead of the curve. And that is what I know that you are aiming to do, Sheriff Helder. To be prepared and have these positions already available, and then, or to have to come back and ask for them. I don't know if it's going to have to be in an ordinance, which ordinances do cost money, or if it's just, okay, you can have them back. The legalities to that. I am more in favor to leave things the way they are and be apprised of, and have him be ready and let Sheriff Helder inform the court as to when these positions are filled, et cetera. That's just my position on it.
And JP Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm a believer that we're going to have some real tough decisions to make in the next 2 or 3 months. If we don't move budgeted money that we're not going to spend into the reserve accounts, we're going to have no idea what our reserves are. So I'm in favor of this ordinance. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, JP Yanez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sheriff Helder, I have just a question or curiosity. So COVID has made us things that we would not be possible, like lowering our inmate count, possible. And so I'm kind of curious, of these methods, which ones do you see being available after COVID? And which ones are maybe a danger to society of the ones that you're currently using that are reducing the count?
Oh, great question. So obviously we reduced our numbers significantly from a public health standpoint, all the while trying to balance public safety. So the ones that we released in cooperation with the prosecutor's office and the courts were the ones that were nonviolent, along that strain. We also began with the ankle monitoring system with those that were borderline that on FTAs, that had a history of FTAs and whatnot. So I have started an in-house group to kind of start our own ankle monitoring system, if you will, kind of to deal with a certain number of the FTAs and the pretrial folks in coordination with our courts. So I'm hopeful that with that program, we can kind of slow the refilling of the jail and have a continuing program. We're talking about some other things internally to try and keep our numbers down as much as we can, but I've got to caution everybody on this. And of course, we don't know. I know that I get in trouble occasionally for speaking on behalf of other agencies, but one of the phenomenons we've seen during this time is a cooperative effort across the board from law enforcement to not be proactive in their enforcement efforts like they normally would be. Really, it's more of a reactive effort. Now, whether that's a good thing for public safety, could probably argue that it's not, but what it's done, it's allowed us to keep our numbers down. Along with that, Judith, we are working with ADC and parole and probation. We have in the last week, as our numbers started rising of state inmates, I know some of you have followed, we've been able to get those 25 this week shipped back out, but those are primarily parole violators. So we're starting to see more recidivism on the end of the parole violators. They're being violated at a higher rate, but we're fighting them tooth and nail to keep them out of our facility. So it's kind of an odd situation. And I think what we're going to see when the courts do open up, we're going to have a large influx of failure to appears. So I probably didn't answer your question exactly as it was asked, but that was kind of a broad toss out for you. Thank you.
No, thank you. And I just want to make one final comment. I mean, we have 8 positions here that was pre-COVID. And so we have our countdown, and we can't just say, the floodgates are going to open, we're going to need those 8 positions. We need to think strategically to save the county money. And if this is working, we need to see what's working to continue that for the county and for our inmates. So thank you.
Okay, we have an amendment on this ordinance. JP Deakins.
I think I really wanted to highlight that I think in the short term, this gives our county some flexibility with some planning and some funds. And what I really want to highlight too is keep in mind that due to the funding mechanisms that we passed last year, we also have to worry about our municipalities and their budgeting that are going to go and how that's going to go. But I really want to highlight some long-term things here that I want all the Quorum Court to keep their focus on. We have the judicial study that's going to come down from the NCSC any day now. And, I want everybody to try to frame in their mind, I have no desire for the jail to go back the way it was. And I'm going to dedicate myself 100% to doing whatever that study says to help us out where Sheriff Helder and his detention officers are not put in that position again. That's my number one goal with this. And so I want to also highlight to people that while we move these funds around, I think these aren't filled right now. This is kind of low-hanging fruit on the decisions that we have to make because we're not affecting people's jobs, and other elected officials have had to lay people off and furlough people through these hard times. But let's take a long-term focus. I think when this study comes out, we're really going to have to examine what we're doing from a budgetary standpoint with this criminal justice reform measures that we might need to take. And that's going to be very difficult for us to do in the future. And I want us as justices as a group to start thinking through that a little bit and prepare ourselves for some difficult decisions and waters ahead as we try to move this county in the right direction. Thank you, Chairwoman Harbison.
Well, we have a motion, an amendment. We need to vote on the amendment first. The amendment is to put the funds in the jail unappropriated money. All right. Okay. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor in doing this, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? All right, the amendment has passed. Okay, let's go back to the ordinance. J.P. Jenkins, you had your hand up.
No, I'm good. I didn't have my hand up.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Ms. Patty, will you please call the roll?
Lance Johnson,
Yes.
Susan Cunningham,
Yes.
Derek Thomas,
Yes.
Judith Yanez,
Yes.
Patrick Deakins,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Sam Duncan,
Yes.
Chandra Washington,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Andrea Jenkins. Did you say yes? Okay.
Yes.
Suki Hires,
Yes.
Sue Madison, Willie Lemming, Butch Pond.
No.
JP Harbison, this passes.
All right, we'll send this on to the full Quorum Court for final approval. All right, that's our last item on the agenda. We have a 12-minute public comment. Do we have any public that want to make comments tonight?
I don't see any.
Okay. I entertain them. Okay. J.P. Deakins?
Thank you, Chairwoman Harbison. I just wanted to say that, and let me speak on behalf of the Quorum Court maybe, that I've been talking to several elected officials in the last couple of weeks and going over what they did to react to COVID-19 and the outbreak. And I just want to give them a big thank you. I think a lot of them were very proactive, and I really appreciate that. It makes our job easier, even though we're not there in the trenches every day fighting. And I just want to say thank you to all of our elected officials, county employees, everyone for doing their part. Thank you very much.
Okay. And I need to go on and tell you what I've planned for the budget. I've talked to all the elected officials just informally about the upcoming budget process. We are going to follow basically the same schedule we did last year, and I'll get that to Ms. Patty tomorrow, and so she can get that out. So if there are any conflicts in dates for JPs, then, we can look at and work around that. We have, I think, our first meeting in September. We have the county judge and his 1819 departments. And I do need to ask some of our smaller departments that have had flat budgets for the last 2 or 3 years, do we want to call those departments in? Okay, JP Jenkins.
Hi, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Does this have to do with the Finance and Budget Committee meeting that we're going to be moving on to next?
Yes.
Okay, can we take a 10-minute break between committee meetings, please?
Oh, we're not, I mean, tonight, no, we're just about finished tonight.
Okay.
I just made a comment of what I had done in the budget process, that I had talked to the elected officials, and that we have set up a schedule. It's not permanent. Patty will be getting those dates out to you. So if there are any conflicts, we can work around those conflicts. All right. So, you know, we have to go on with the budget process. What I'm asking from the court in general is those small departments like the extension office that have had flat budgets, have not increased their budgets in the last 3 years, for like the extension, the health department, and those that we did not call in last year. Do we want to call those people in for, have them to review their budgets this year? Well, I'm hearing no comment or.
I think we need to do, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, if we could have an opportunity to think about it and discuss it at next month's meeting, I think we'd be better prepared to give answers of what and how we want the flow of the meetings to go and the direction we're going.
We're starting the first finance meeting in September. We will be starting at that meeting. JP Washington.
To answer your question, I would fully support those departments being called in. Because I think we are at a time where every single penny in the budget is going to count. So no department should get a pass. Everyone needs to be called in and be able to justify their budget. So I would fully support you in calling in whoever you think needs to be called in, particularly those who you mentioned have had flat budgets for the past 3 years.
That's a court decision, and I will schedule everybody in then. All right. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that this meeting be adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 We are adjourned.